Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Learn with Stanley webinar. And today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. I hope you'll find it interesting, which is how do we get started in planning our financial together as a couple. So if you're married or if you're in a long-term serious relationship, how do you get started in maybe combining finances or learning about each other money habits and talking about money, which is very, very taboo for a lot of couples, especially for even for a lot of family growing up. Let's take a look into some of the maybe key steps that we can start taking. And I'm going to share also my very own personal journey. Hopefully you'll use it maybe as an example, but I would say even my own couple financial journey is still a work in progress, and I'll try to give a little bit snippets and real examples of how we go through starting the conversation, what we are doing now, and what are some of the key conflict resolution strategy or communication skills that we have talked about along the way. And I hope you find it interesting today. Thank you for joining us. And before we start, please note, of course, these are just based on my own personal experience and also my own research. So these are just my personal opinion and does not represent my employer, which is IFAS. And many of the things here, I will use antidotes, and I'll share with you some of the things that work for me and some of the things that didn't work for me. And I hope you use it as a reference point to see how it could be used as a base for you to look into your own situation. Of course, everybody's situation is slightly different. And if you want to have a discussion with me privately to discuss about your finances or just need to talk to me as a financial advisor, you can always reach out to me separately through this QR code or from my email or website. Okay, this is part of our Premium Club webinar, and most of our members will be able to get the replay later on, and also some of the resources that we'll provide for this webinar. And as you guys know, I am currently a wealth advisor with IFAS Global Markets in Malaysia. And IFAS Global Markets is basically a wealth platform that allows you to gain access to all kinds of different asset classes, from unit trusts to arranging for your EPF, your PRS, bonds, our in-house discretionary portfolio, and including a brokerage account where you can gain access to stocks and ETF on your own as well. Okay, and if you have known me for some time, you'll know that I have always been talking about long-term investing and how to build wealth over the long term. And some of the key things that I follow and I tend to stick with, I will call it my philosophy, where when I invest, I try to focus on very, very long-term opportunities and high-quality businesses or high-quality funds out there. I try not to time the market because after close to 20 years of investing, I realized that the more we time the market, the more mistake that I make. So I'm trying to have a simple strategy that can allow me to build my portfolio as I scale up my saving rate and my portfolio size. So this is what I call an everlasting portfolio strategy, where it can allow me to sleep soundly at night and grow my wealth at a reasonable pace. This is just an example of my own account inside my IFAS account, and as a demo to share with you guys on how I can create a portfolio using ETF. And I share this regularly with my members as well. And my strategy has done pretty well for me. And this is just my personal tracking of how my investment has been doing over the past 15, 16 years. Okay, so down to the topic of today. And today we're gonna discuss about how to get started discussing money with our better half. And some of the key things that I want to touch on Of course, we can't go through every single thing today, but some of the starting point, I think, for us to get into is number one, understanding how we view money. And each of us would view money differently, and what money truly means for us would be different based on a lot on our upbringing, our past experience, and so how this will impact us on what we really think of money and what it meant to us. And of course, when we have two people coming together, that view will differ. And what should we do in resolving that differences, or maybe just reaching a point where we accept each other's view on money. Next is to setting the dream together. As a couple, the key reason of why we end up together and staying together is that being two-person together would be better than being by ourselves. And if we have a shared goal and shared dream, that will not only improve our money future together, it could also improve our relationship very, very strongly together. That has actually been my experience when I am finally able to have some discussion about money with my wife. I do find that our relationship tend to improve, and I would say reach a new level that we previously maybe doesn't have that kind of connection before. So it's a process, and it's still a process. And then a key part of it is setting the ideal dream that both of you can work towards. Next is after we know that, then how can we go about setting some money guidelines and creating a system for both of us, especially if we are a dual income household. How do you look into separating or joining which part of the finances? Who will be taking care of which of the situation? It will be different for everyone, but I'll share a little bit on how I tend to do it with my wife at the moment. And then lastly is just how to get started and start taking action. Okay? So a key part of us is trying to understand a little bit about how we really view money as a whole. And when we ask ourselves that question, maybe it will take some time for us to even understand what we truly think about money. So some of the key things I think before we even go into this discussion with our better half is to think a little bit on ourselves. When we view money, what does it represent for us? And do we avoid it? Do we view money as something bad or something good? This will impact a lot of how our relationship is with money. So some of the key, I would say, key links that people view money as would be, of course, number one, that people feel that once they have money, they would gain more respect and maybe love from the people around you. That's a common one that drive people to try to have more money. Next one would be security. And this is something that I would say on our case that I found out how I feel money differently with my wife. And number three that I have is freedom and autonomy, and how you can be able to make choices without any financial constraint or at the mercy of other people, especially if you're working in a job and you feel that if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you feel that your freedom or your autonomy is really not there and governed by your employer. So these are some of the things, and just I guess a look back for me and my wife, we only really started talking about money in a more candid manner, I think, during COVID. So not that long ago, especially when we have been married for close to a decade by that point. And previously, I I didn't realize, but when we start having children, my wife quit her job so that she could be a full-time mom, and making sure that our children is well taken care of. I think that was a very, very key objective of hers and of mine. And even though we don't have a formal discussion on who's leaving work, especially when my wife was the one earning more at the time, but we naturally both fall into that conclusion, and she left her job. But we were just still managing money separately, close to separately at the time. And what happens is I didn't realize that because of the loss of income, and every time she need money, she have to get it from me, especially when most of us, her savings was also passed to me to invest. So that created a lot of tension between us, and I wasn't aware. And to me, at the time when we especially for one of our fights is, I kind of feel that when she's asking me, when she's nervous about money, and the only way that I can comfort her is to reassure her that we do have some money put aside, but those are in investment. But to me, it seems that she wanted me to put more of our cash buffer just in cash sitting there. And as someone who is a little bit more logical and has been investing for a long time, it just seems like not a very wise choice for me to just put the money in the bank with no interest, just to put it there for us to look at. But after we have that conversation of really trying to combine our finances, that I truly understand it's mainly because of our view of money and why we end up reacting differently. Say, for myself, I always see money as a source of freedom and autonomy. Maybe it's from my own upbringing that I came from a middle class family, and I never really have to worry about money. At least from my parents' side, they never let us worry about money. And so I was never afraid that we would be in short of money. And so, but to me, having money give us the freedom and the autonomy that I don't have to answer to anyone. So that's how I see it. But to my wife, who has a slightly more struggling childhood, to her, then money is really a source of security. And at the time, because most of our funds are tied up in investment, and I don't have a lot of cash lying around, and she's not working, so she don't see the inflow of the funds, and my work itself has very volatile income. So there was a very a nervous situation for her. And it's only after talking for quite a few times that I realized that to her, money is really a source of security, and she need to feel safe, to not be so agitated and anxious all the time, worrying that we might not have enough. So that's one of the key pivot point of understanding what exactly does money mean for us. I put this painting here. It is one of my favorite painting. You can see it right at the back of my wall by Edward Hopper, the Nighthawk. And to me, I feel that if as a couple, when we are not able to truly have a transparent discussion about money, it could feel very lonely, because this is one of the key parts of our life and our humanity. And if we are not able to share that with the closest person in the world with us, then it could be a very, very lonely journey, which is the sense that I get it from this painting. And so I really hope that my hope for everybody is that although it's a very, very taboo topic to get started and a taboo topic that can get people very agitated when we're discussing it, it's still a topic worth to work on, especially on my case. Me and my wife really fought a lot at the beginning when we start to learn how to talk about money, and it really took a long time because, for example, I will share with her that when she was no longer working, that every year maybe I'll share with her my finances of how much we earn for that year, how's our portfolio is doing for that year. And one of the key top reply that I always get back from her is when I tell her the figure, she will ask, is that in ringgit or Sing dollar, right? And my assumption, of course, once she said that, is it's not enough. You know, if you're telling me that's the amount in ringgit, I don't feel safe, and that's not enough. And of course, that's a big blow to my ego, especially in years where I feel that I have done pretty well. But like I said, that become a point where, of course, my ego is hurt, and I would often end up getting agitated, and it will lead to more quarrels during that discussion. And just a simple comment like that, it took a while of really letting our ego down, and slowly discussing, did I realize that what money meant to her, right? And she need to make sure that we have enough and we are earning enough that she could feel safe. And what in her words is not really a personal attack to me, but rather a source of worry that she's telling me. So that is point that we have to start understanding each other, and to realize that because of our different background, how we view money will be different. But it's a key step that both of us come to a conclusion that we realize that, and either accept it or learn that to change over time, especially as our finances situation improve. But of course, I'm not going to tell you that after that, once we have the conclusion, it will be a rosy discussion all the time. It's still a very, very sensitive topic to discuss, and I'm sure for each of us, most of the discussion might look something like that. All right, you'll end in fights, but as long as we have an honest discussion with each other and have some faith in one another that we want the best for our family, or both of you as a couple, and really see each other as a teammate rather than an opponent. Especially when we start talking, and if you're at first starting to combine your finances, you might feel some sort of competition, right? Especially when both of you might be earning differently, and you might naturally see each other as opponent or competitor. But in fact, you have to realize, I think both sides have to realize that the coming together is a step that you guys trust each other enough to want to be a team. And it's always better to work as a team to win in the game of life. So some of the key actionable steps I think we can all get started on, right? Especially if you have never ever talked to your partner about money before. Let's take a little bit small baby steps. If it's hard to talk to each other about it, maybe treat it as an assessment, right? That each of you write down what does money really meant for you, and be honest, right? Be honest. There are standard questions out there. There are standard answers out there that you might feel that these are the politically right and righteous answer. that you should reply to, but I think we should all dig a little bit deeper and ask ourselves what is the honest answer when we are answering all these questions, and when number two, what are the top two things money can buy that are most important to you, right? And once you write that down and once you start discussing that, it's key for us to start discussing it without judgment. Even if, say for example, if two of the most important thing for me or for my wife could be, of course, number one is to make sure our kids are well taken care of. But number two could be that we make sure that every time we go to a holiday, I want to stay in a very nice hotel, and that's very important to me, right? And on surface, it might feel very superficial, but the key is not really to discuss it with judgment, but you can always discuss it to understand the reason behind it. And we have to understand that money is a tool for us to improve our life and to really live to the full potential that we can, instead of something that should be avoided or something that we should never discuss. Okay. For the exercise, it might take a while. It might not happen in just one try. You might end up fighting a lot, but I think it's worthwhile for you to start discussing it. And this comment might offend some of you, but I always illustrate it like it's always weird when you first strip naked to your partner, right? And you might feel embarrassed about your own body. But as you do it more often, then it becomes, you don't feel anything at all, right? You're no longer embarrassed about yourself, about your body. It same goes for your finances. When you first strip naked your finances, you will feel very vulnerable, very scared of being judged. But that's fine. That is just human nature. And as you strip more and more, then it becomes just second nature. And then when you reach that point, you can start discussing about each of your ideal dream and your ideal life that you might want to live. Okay. So I'll just share what are some of the things that we have discussed, but these are just for our own personal discussion and reason. You can set your own reason and your own objective, I guess the bucket list that you want to achieve. In fact, me and my wife actually have a shared document that we will put in all our bucket lists that we want to put in, right? It could be things that are would require a lot of money to achieve, but it could also be something very, very simple. Say, for example, if I just put up my list here, I'm not gonna share it to you guys, but I'm gonna read it out, right? Say maybe some of our bucket list includes that we want to take our kids to Africa to see the safari. As a whole family of 6, it will cost a lot, definitely, and it could take some planning to achieve that dream, right? That's one that we would really need money to achieve that goal, and it's something that we both feel that would be very, very meaningful and memorable for our family. But there are other simple things on there that might not take a lot of money. For example, I have one there that I put that I really wanted to learn a piece of music together with my wife, right? And this is something, just an image I have in my head. although it's a simple goal, but we have still not spent the time to look into it. But it's still one of the things that I have in my head, that if I could learn a song with my wife, together, especially on the piano together, that would be a special memory for us. And so that really doesn't cost a lot. In fact, it doesn't cost anything at all. But what I'm saying is, both of this kind of dream that you have, you can put it in your bucket list, your combined bucket list, and to start looking into some of the shared goals, right? Another very, very common objective that couples might have, including this is my own objective as well, is to clear our debt, right? Right now we just paid off our car not long ago, and then now we are left with just our mortgage, and that is something that we work towards as well. So getting out of that to be debt free, I think that is one of key goals for many people. And like I said in the beginning, like, money really to me means having freedom and having autonomy, that I can plan my own time, and I feel that planning my own time at my own pace is very, very important. So that's my wife, and so having what we call, of course, FU money is very important, and that could be a goal for us. Other things, more simple things might be just being able to have good meals together without worrying about the cost of the meal once in a while. I'm not a foodie, but my wife is, so I think that's very, very important to her. And we want to reach a point that hopefully, of course, we want to reach a point where we can really go on any holidays that we want, and we don't have to worry too much about what we order for our kids. So these are just some of the examples that you can think about. One is, of course, to have adventure together, to create lasting memories together, or it could be just having the time to yourself and to reflect. It could be small things, like just one of the small things that could really change a big deal for me recently is, in the past, I have always used mechanical keyboards for my computer. But over the last few years, when I changed over to my iMac, at the moment, I was using the default keyboard that Apple gave it to me. And I realized that I was really annoyed when I was typing, and especially writing reports on it. And I finally decided that, okay, I'm going to get back a mechanical keyboard. And in a way, it reignites the love for writing again for me, and I can see myself writing more and more. So these could be very, very simple things, right? It just costs a few $100, but it is something that I actually spend a lot of time in front of my keyboard, and it could have a big impact. So think about all the things that could make you happy, and things that you want to do in your life, and let's work towards that, creating that list for each of you, and respecting whatever each of you put into that list. So that's number 2. Once you reach a point where you're comfortable with each other, and both of you understand your finances, then you can start thinking about what is your ideal life. But I would caution at this point, because a lot of time we might not, because it's not a thing that we think about actively, and we might just be going through life like autopilot, and we're just moving and taking whatever comes next. And so when we are asked this question, maybe we have not really sit down and have a deep thought on what it really means for us. And the first thought that comes to mind might be very, very influenced by society, by what we see on social media, or by our family background and what our parents has indoctrinated in us. So a word of caution here is really spend some time to explore this question, and each of these lists to really interrogate yourself to see that is this really your own desire or just something that is you are being influenced by the society or by your family, right? If you have no idea of what the ideal life might be for you, I think maybe one of the key areas that we can start to look at is just looking at people around us and asking ourselves who we tend to get jealous of, right? It could be a friend, it could be a celebrity, it could be someone influencer on the internet. And when you feel that emotion, it might be interesting to ask yourself why. Why do you feel jealous or envious of that particular situation or that particular person? Right? It might not even be just a material thing, right? You might see them taking a holiday in business class, then you might feel jealous, but it might not really be just the business class seat, but it might be that you envy that they are able to maybe take a vacation right in the middle of a work period or not school holiday and things like that. So roughly go through and see where you come up with and put some of the things into your bucket list together. And that's a great starting point. And why do we need that? And why is that important? Is that when we have this list, you could choose some of the more important ones or some of the more easier achievable ones. It become a shared dream for both of you. And once you have a shared dream, it's something to work towards. It's something that you can plan towards. A big tragedy that I saw in a lot of people that I talk to is sometimes they could be very high earners, but they might reach this point of being a high earner without truly understanding what are they working towards. Right? It might just be their competitive nature that they want to do the best and achieve more and more, but without realizing what is the goal. And so a big tragedy is I saw and I see these people, and what they do is when they have a lot of money, they really have no real goals of where to spend this money on, and they end up just spending it and buying very, very trivial things, right? I'm not saying that I'm not against buying luxury goods or splurging on yourself, but there's a difference between really enjoying that product and seeing it as a value to you, and versus just buying it because somebody else has it and you don't want to be the one caught without it, right? There is a big difference on that. And I see that sadly especially with high earners that has no real goal in life, and they work so hard on their time and their health to earn all this money, but ending up just spending it away on things that might not even matter that much to them. And I just feel great sadness when I see that happening to each of them. So having that part of creating your ideal life together with your partner, for my case, it really, number one, brought two of us together more closely, and also keep us something to work towards, right? And so now you realize that with a shared objective, you can truly be a team now, right? And there is a real reason to think about whether you want to combine finances and manage it together as a team. And then to work out who's taking the roles of responsibility for each of the things. So I can go through a little bit of how me and my wife ended up with the current system that we have. It's not something that I would say that it's not something that very sophisticated. But right now, what is working for us ends up is, number one, remember when I said that at the time she get very anxious if she sees our bank balance at a very, very low point. That's because at that time we don't have a joint name account, and money is just lying, some in my account, some in her account, and she can't really see my account anyway. So what we ended up agreeing on is we have a shared joint name account, and basically all the monthly expenses that we put aside, like our emergency fund and our monthly expenses needed, would be put into this joint account. So she can see exactly how much money, cash that we have. So at this point, right, my own personal account will be very, very low on cash. Sometimes I just have, $1,000 in my own account, and everything else would be inside this joint name account that we spend. But the day-to-day expenses and budgeting would mainly be handled by my wife. And we come to a conclusion of, if we see it as a company, she'll be the one taking care of the income statement. I'll be the one taking care of the balance sheet. So every time our expenses or how our expenses is being distributed, how our expenses need to be paid, she'll be the one having a clearer idea. But all our excess savings, I will be the one responsible in allocating where we should be investing in, how we should be investing in it. Of course, we talk to each other on what's happening, but more or less we would trust each other in handling that portion. Then in terms of if we want to buy something for ourselves, typically if it's below a threshold, I think if you say like anything maybe below a few $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000, we don't really talk about it. So these are discretionary spending that we want to spend on ourselves. But if it's something bigger, then we might still talk to each other about it. But having said that, it's not like we will buy something without the knowledge of the other person, right? Even when she want to buy a certain item, typically, she will still let me know. And even for, especially for myself as well, because I am actually the one that would end up buying a lot of useless stuff, because I tend to like to explore and learn new things. And once I get to excited about a new topic, something that I'm learning, I could end up buying a lot of things surrounding that topic. Case in point, this year I have been more and more active in just playing racket sports, tennis in particular, and then I just went down the rabbit hole and started to learn about stringing a racket and everything, and I end up just purchasing a string machine, which is absolutely useless in my opinion, actually, because especially it's so cheap for us to replace our strings outside, and it's close to nothing, right? Typically, the shop will charge us 20 ringgit a workmanship to change a string, and we don't change string that often anyways. But it's just something that I became obsessed with, and bought a few $1,000s of a useless machine. But that's fine. As long as we have understanding that you can set a threshold that below any amount, that's fine, But maybe above a certain amount, you guys need to start discussing to see if you really can afford it, and would it be meaningful to you if you buy the item. Okay, and once you have that, I think some of the key lessons that key system that you might think about is really looking into the idea of paying yourself first, right? Of course, by this step, this will be something that you can look into after you understand your full financial situation, right? And we talk about this in a few times over our previous webinar of how I go through your balance sheet and your income statement with some of my other clients. I demonstrated using our software of how to do it, but it's something that I show you that you can do it on Excel as well. So if you have missed that, definitely check out some of our past webinar where we talk of the step-by-step way that you can draw out your own personal balance sheet, understand what is your net worth, your debt, your asset, and your obligation, and also working out your income and your expenses and how that match up. But once you reach a point where you are pretty certain that you have surplus every single month from your income versus your expenses, that your expenses is under control and you have some surplus, I will encourage you to have a system where you pay yourself first. So for example, if every month you have say like 20% surplus from your income, and you have your emergency fund already all built up, then every month, instead of paying off all your expenses first and then seeing whatever amount that you have left and then choosing how much to go into your investment account, I would suggest that you fix that ratio first, right? Maybe 10% you're going to save every single month into investment, right? If you have 20% surplus, you save half of it, and that would straight away every single month, once your paycheck comes in, it will go into your investment account, right? That money is paid to you first, and that money is for investment, and the rest will be for your fixed expenses, and also maybe something to treat yourself every single month, or just something that might came out that month unexpectedly, right? So that will be one of the very, very important habits that I encourage you guys to look into, and a lot of parts of that can actually be automated. For example, on our iFast platform, we can create a regular saving plans sequence that is linked to your bank directly, and it could make the deposit every single month or every quarter, whichever frequency that you want, directly into your investment account. So this will be especially useful once it's automated and you allow yourself to have a system that will grow your wealth consistently. Right. Next is, of course, understanding your budget that we talk about, and also remember to invest whatever surplus that you have. As a rule of thumb, typically when we talk about, right, you have 3 to 6 months of emergency cash lying around, and that will be, it's okay to just keep in cash, hopefully a interest paying a cash account, and then you have allocation that you will go into, the allocation for the income that will go into investment straight away, right? So action number 3 that you can think about after you've gone through the previous 2 discussion, which I assume would take some time if you're just starting out. That's fine. For me and my wife, I could say that it took 10 years for us to have that discussion more politely, I guess is the word. But it took a while. It took a while for us. But once you start the conversation, I think it's already a good start. And when you reach the point where you have already created the shared goals and the shared bucket list that you agree on, that you have chosen what to work towards together, and it gives you a reason that you must take your finances more seriously, and so that you're working towards a bigger picture together. And then make sure that you also understand your current situation. And this is a key part that I tend to work with my clients a lot, which is helping them understand their current situation. And if they have, they allow to share with me their bucket list goal, I can also create simulation from our software to see, number one, if they can afford that dream, or how we can put in place some investment plan to reach that goal. Okay, and then it's just having the responsibility and budget to work together. I understand also, right? I would say that sometimes why this topic become very taboo and very touchy is maybe there is a little bit of lack of trust from one party to the other. A lot of time, I would say that once you embark on a financial journey, that you want to take responsibility of your own finances, typically I assume that if you're watching this, you are the one that is more responsible in finances in the relationship. And typically what happens is our partner might not be on the same page as us. They might not be even thinking about money as we start on this journey of taking control of our finances. So there is a tendency, right, when that happens, that we might not trust them with money, or we might feel that in a way we're not at the same wavelength. Some of the things that we might even feel resentful that we have to be the one that is responsible, or be the responsible one that has to plan out all these things while they are still enjoying life, right? There is a lot of unspoken feelings that could surface, but having a process of good communication and reminding each other that you are a team and you want to be a team, and you are here to help each other instead of here to blame each other, then we would have a better platform to work towards a more a common goal, which is my hope for all of you. And I just want to remind that it really doesn't need to be perfect, right? Even for myself, I have been investing for close to 20 years, and I have been we as a couple has been actively trying to improve our communication around how we manage our finances, but it's never perfect. It's still work of progress, and especially with a family of 4 kids, it can be very, very tiring. And what I want to say is, don't wait for it to be perfect to get started, right? The key is to get started. And once you start on this journey and you're able to bring your partner along to create a shared goal together, I think that's a recipe for a more perfect life together in the future. So that's very, very important. And I hope that you guys, even though, when you go back and you might want to kickstart this process, you might hit a lot of roadblocks. You might feel a lot of feelings that you might you didn't know is buried inside. All right, both ways for you and your partner. But I encourage you to work towards it, and there is light at the end of the tunnel, and especially I really find very meaningful now, especially in my work, in helping client work through this process. Like I said before, our relationship with money is how we view our wealth, and it could impact how we talk about money with our better half. So for me, money has never really been that big of a motivator for me. But I was lucky that I bumped into investment, and what really motivated me is not really the money, but rather I see it as a game, and I just love to play the game, and I get satisfaction from playing the game and winning at the game, right? And now with my work in IFAS, it's also not really the money that I can earn that is motivating me, but instead is the connection that I form with my client, and especially working with them through this process to help them understand their finances a little bit better, to help them create systems around their investment plan, and in some cases to work together with their spouse as well, to help them, facilitate them to talk about money in a more cordial setting, has been much more meaningful and motivates me much more than all the commission that I could earn. Right? So just to summarize, these are some of the steps that I typically takes with my clients of building up the plan and implementing and monitoring them. And all this, of course, includes that sometimes I will discuss with them their philosophy, right? I share with them my philosophy when it comes to investment. That I also want to understand their experience and their philosophy as well. So that's all for my sharing today. If you have any question, I really love to have a discussion with you guys. But before I go into Q&A, I'll just finish up the presentation. And this is a part where I share a spin-off section of our webinar, where I might not talk about anything related to the topic at hand, but just something interesting that I found over the weeks, and it's actually a YouTuber called Qbin. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but we found this new it's not a new YouTube channel, but I only recently found this channel, and it's quite interesting because she's a person who live in Siberia, and she just go around creating stories and interviewing stories of the life of different people in her region, and it's really quite fascinating, and how tough the condition of life is over there, where during winter the temperature can go down to minus 70 degrees, and you couldn't be outside for more than 5 minutes and you will freeze to death. So this is one of the few channels that I found that we could watch as a family, because which is why I wanted to share with you guys. For a long time, because all the internet content right now, it's very hard to find a show that the whole family can sit down and watch together. Sometimes I find shows that I like, the kids doesn't like it. If I on shows that the kids like, me and my wife might not be enjoying it. And very, very often we end up after a while just on our own devices watching what we want to watch. And it's missing something that at least from what we grow up with, which is one TV, and everybody has to watch the same show and has something common among us, right? And this is one of the few channels that we found that all of us could really sit down and enjoy the whole episode together, to see the life of these people in Siberia. And it reminds us of the tough conditions of life. And life for us, no matter how struggling that we might be, or pressure that we feel, it's pretty certain that our life is not as tough as these people living in Siberia. But it also reminds us of the resilience of really human beings, of finding a way to survive in such harsh conditions, and finding joy in very, very simple things. And it's just beautifully made on every episode. And if you're looking for something to watch together with the kids as a family, this is quite interesting, right? And that's it. And of course, again, our iFast platform has access. You will find that we have one of the most comprehensive access to most asset classes that you will need to create a very, very diversified portfolio for yourself. And something that I help my clients in building through the whole process. If you are finding anything that is confusing to you, or you want to look into creating a portfolio just for yourself, or need a wealth review, you can always join my wait list here through the QR code, or reach out to me through my email. And hopefully I'll love to have a one-on-one chat with you. Before we go today, the quote for today is something that I also saw from the YouTube channel. But when I searched for this quote, it came from this person called Louis Hay, which is a motivator, speaker, and writer in the past. And this has been an amazing quote, and I think I'll keep this quote for a long time in my mind, which is, there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just the weather and your attitude towards it. And it is really a reminder for us, not just about the weather, but about what life throws at us. It really is just our attitude towards it. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you find this discussion meaningful. And if you have any question, do let me know. If not, till we meet again, my name is Stanley. Invest safely.